winning it or just going to a map that's less likely to reach the late game, I would be down for.
All right. The next battleground is a little bit so-so, I would say, for Nazebo. It's Cursed Hollow. So there are a couple of choke points you normally can afford to go for the late game, but stacking is not as easy as on other maps.
Absolutely, and the early game is quintessential to Cursed Hollow. Making sure your enemy doesn't get 2 curses and hit that level 10 spike is super important.
All right, so we're going to find out which potential other heroes Enabler has in store for us, because so far he's probably the most limited player. But we can't really blame them too much. They were able to take game number 1 against Team Denmark, and we tackled the topic of nerves and motivation in the team. How much is that going to affect the Danes right now?
Well, so far we have actually seen the Nazebo winning game number 1s and then be less successful as goes on. And like you said, nerves can be a big issue. It was clear they'd done a little bit of research looking at Belgium, and yet they still had issues against something they should have expected.
And it was a disheartening loss as well. When you're ahead for such a long time only to lose the game because of one misstep in the late game, that can't feel good. Now, cheer your team up if you're from Denmark, if you're a Danish fan, by typing hashtag DKWin, or do the opposite if you think that Belgium is going to take it 2-0 by typing hashtag BEWin. Let's see what you guys have in store for us.
You were talking about it in the last game. We finally see Greymane making his way up into that ban slot. And it's well deserved. Like Baby said, it's not an overpowered hero. He feels fair. He's not as frustrating to play against, but he's been successful. So they just don't want to deal with him and potentially get one of the more frustrating heroes for themselves.
Absolutely. I think the thing about that last game is that Denmark, they played something off meta, and Belgium at first completely fell over. But then they got back up, and they looked stronger than ever before.
Yeah, very good point there for sure. And we all know, like, if you've ever played against a well-organized Medivh team, that's not an easy thing to do, especially when there's Stitches in the mix who keeps poking you from afar.
And once Medivh cheats is in the board as well, you are in serious trouble, but they were still able to play around it, and we called it. It is one of those potentially more frustrating, cheeky heroes. The Genji is the first pick for Belgium.
And if I'm not mistaken, the Danes actually play Genji a lot themselves in their first series. So on the one hand, Genji is an extremely strong first pick when there's no Greymane available. On the other hand, you may actually take away something that the Danes feel comfortable on.
Very true. So let's see what Denmark have to deal with this. I was about to say maybe they want to pick away Nazebo, but right now Belgium are the only team that seems to put any priority in Nazebo at all. Question is
Enabler is the chosen one.
Enabler is the chosen of the voodoo.
All right. What are they going to follow up with? I mean, there are a couple of notorious Genji counters. Crowd control, of course, is key. What is your favorite when it comes to that?
Probably Brightwing. I like Brightwing a lot.
Right.
It's a global on Cursed Hollow, but it's a polymorph on Genji. It's Emerald Wind to split up the team, and we do see it locked in.
Nice indeed. So they now have insane team fight control with the Emerald Wind, Mosh Pit, etc. Everything except for the guitar solo. He's gonna have a good time.
Looks like there's one Belgian fan voting for his team, and the Danes were all falling asleep.
Okay, they're starting to build up. Okay, nice.
So yeah, it was the limited amount of votes just immediately put it up there. Cool to see, but there we go. We're back to a more equal number, and that number will continue to change as you guys send in your votes.
Yeah, thanks for participating, by the way. We really appreciate it. I think without the fans, without the community out there, this tournament would not have been possible in the first place. You voted for the maps, you're cheering for the teams. The overall atmosphere for the Nexus games just feels wonderful.
Completely agree. I'm having a wonderful time and love seeing the reaction from the community about this really fun tournament.
All right, Genji. Now, we talked about potential counters, Bakery. What is your favorite enabler for the Genji, if you will?
Oh, that's a tough one. So I very much like seeing the Uther, and I very much like Tyrael. So Tyrael, probably a bit optimistic to pick it now when you do have strong tanks like a noob, like Mjolnir still up. Looking Uther earlier again for Belgium, sorry.
Yeah.
It worked out really well last game. As we were saying, that's what gave them the tools to deal with that Stitches Medivh combo after level 10.
Definitely true, and the Muradin, always such a reliable rock to fall back on. It's a good pillar that keeps your team together.
And the two heroes combined, Uther and Muradin, makes an immensely tanky frontline. Potentially, once again, as we said before, Uther can be weaker against some of that AoE damage. And seeing as Denmark have yet to pick damage, This could be an issue. They do need to be very careful, but they are still flexible into their last picks.
And you know what? I think this is the right call.
Hey.
I think it is finally time to put Enabler to the limits, to test his might.
It's not first ban worthy, but that's fine. If he doesn't want to pick it early, let's at least find out what he can do.
I like the idea behind the ban. Denmark are saying, okay, we do need to give Belgium respect. But at the same time, they're also thinking to themselves, like, we feel like the stronger team. We were the stronger team for almost all of that game. So why did it go wrong? Well, they've clearly identified the Nazebo as being one of those factors, and they've taken it away.
I think it also makes your whole game a lot more comfortable to play. You don't have this time bomb ticking after level 20. Like, we need to finish this game, guys. We need to make something happen. I think this overzealous playstyle really hurt them in game number 1 with all those forced stitches engages.
Very much so, and Nazebo was never the one who was caught in those engages because you can see Enabler, he knows how to position the hero, and if he does get engaged, he has that soul rip to keep himself alive a lot of times. In this
and
case,
ice block.
And ice block. So yeah, in this case, he just didn't even need them. He's able to just keep him, he's not going to need them because he has to play something else.
Now, Bakery, Uther is a support that's far from being uncounterable. What is one of the most crucial counters you could put up against him? Like, what was your bane when you play Uther yourself?
I had a really tough time against Gul'dan in particular. Gul'dan has a whole lot of poke, and Gul'dan has fear. So when Uther wants to be melee range and wants to be getting value from his stun and even his heals, it makes it really awkward if Gul'dan can have a Horrify on you and your allies. I absolutely love the Karazim pickup. If I was Belgium right now, a Karazim would be my ticket to what I would think is a free win. Karazim, Uther, Genji is such a scary combination, especially with Uther to open up. There was only Brightwing and there was ETC, who was already quite squishy. So that was a really scary combo, denying the Karazim, denying the Tyrael.
Very true. Tyrael so good on Cursed Hollow Tetra. We talked about it all the time in the late game. It is all of a sudden Team Denmark that looks very scary with those sanctifications now in the Holy Ground.
Yeah, they have got a lot of setup. Double support, one of which has a lot of pressure, and a double frontline. Whatever their last pick is, it's going to have a very reasonable time because it's going to be so covered. Finally, for Belgium, we see Sonya going to be very solid in the solo lane and their own second support in the form of Malfurion. Uther, even though he is going to be lovely, the extra healing from Malfurion could be great. And I mean, we already know Uther can do well against Brightwing due to the lovely Divine Shield running through Emerald Wind. I wonder where I'm getting this mental image from. But the extra healing and the potential teamfight potential of the Twilight Dream is huge, so I love the Malfurion.
Yeah, we saw a lot of strong Malfurion performances over the course of this tournament. We saw beautiful Twilight Dreams, we saw nice rootings as well. What is a hero that you would like to see here to round up and complete the draft by Denmark?
The big thing I'm looking at is that Belgium have scary CC, and Denmark do not currently have a cleanse they want to go for. Brightwing wants to take Face Shield. So if I'm Denmark, I'm looking, can I take a ranged assassin that doesn't need a cleanse? And I think that's Gul'dan.
Yeah, what was the one you said you might have potential issues with Uther against? Was Malfurion going to have similar issues?
Malfurion is a much easier hero to play against Gul'dan. It's still hard though because he wants to go and he wants to get that Twilight Dream value, and he has to be very careful to never stack anywhere close to Uther. If they're ever on top of each other, Gul'dan is going to have an absolute field day.
Yeah, so, huge AoE damage, lovely Horrify potential. If you can get Horrify both supports, you're going to do well because you're either denying healing or you're isolating one of the supports for potential kill potential.
Traditionally speaking, AoE damage over time counters Uther very well. Why do you think they chose Gul'dan over Lunara, who's also a traditional antagonist for the Paladin?
The thing about Lunara is that she's definitely lacking in some areas. Gul'dan has great burst with E build, he has great poke with his Q and his potential to chunk some out with E, and he also has Horrify, whereas Lunara's much more one-dimensional.
Gotcha. All right. So, according to the draft, we're going to get another update on the votes very, very soon. Once again, type in hashtag DKWin if you think Denmark's going to take it now with that roster that looks very good on paper, according to Bakery, or type in hashtag BEWin if you think Belgium is going to close this out very cleanly with a 2-0.
It looks like the chat is very slightly leaning towards Team Belgium here with their double support on a Sonya and that potential Genji comp. And DK, if you look at their heroes individually, they look very Genji viable. Genji vulnerable.
Yeah, absolutely. But when they stack up together, it's two supports for the Gul'dan.
All right, we're going to find out who's going to take the cake, and it is going to be a very, very important game, especially for Denmark, if they want to keep up their chances in this tournament, Tetra.
Yes, it is. And spawning on the left-hand side, trying to keep their hopes alive, is going to be Denmark on the left, with Dizzy Dwarf, Youngbeck, Dreamy, Volnod, and in the top lane, it is going to be the Karazim.
There we go, and their opponents on the right-hand side, it is Team Belgium with Taluf, Heiza, Rabio, and of course Enabler and Linfield. Can't forget about those guys. And Enabler, this time, he's getting pushed out of his comfort zone. No more Brat, no more IE, no more Voodoo power.
Also, I was very nervous when you said that, when you said we can't forget about them, because the last time we said that, that hero immediately died. So we are quite happy that that did not happen at this time. 9 men on that Karazim is going to be in the solo lane. Solo lane Karazim, we don't see it too often, but it is definitely viable because he has good self-sustain.
And I do want to say that we don't see it for a good reason because no, I think he's gonna survive though.
Commit.
Yeah, but we don't normally see it for a good reason because Karazim probably has one of the weakest wave clearing capabilities in the game. So that means if you face a lot of enemy resistance, you're just gonna have to take a long time to really get those kicks and fists in against those minions, and it takes a long while for them to die, draining a lot of ammo and damaging your buildings a lot.
Now Brightwing, who does actually potentially have a little bit more wave clear with the potential for her Fairy Fire, is still going to stay in this 3-man lane purely for the fact her healing doesn't require mana. And when paired with a Gul'dan, non-mana based healers are always going to get more value.
Yeah, absolutely true. Perfect Storm, by the way, coming in for the Muradin, so we see the more offensive route. No block, no third wind. He's basically going for a lot of additional damage because there's no cap to it. It's one of the few stacking talents that does not have a limit. So the more enemies you hit with your Storm Bolts, the better it's going to be.
Yeah, exactly. As we do see Rabio pulling back a little bit, does not want to get caught out by that ETC Gul'dan combo. And we are seeing a lot more safer play this game compared to the previous ones.
Absolutely true. Now, let's take a look at the teams in terms of how good they are at clearing mercenary camps. Something we cannot underestimate on Curse Hollow. Dreamy, easy dodge. They're doing that wonderfully well. And even Muradin can't lock him down. Heiza, of course, had to use a lot of his abilities early on. And you can really only use the Swift Strike in order to execute someone. Otherwise, you're going to be trapped potentially behind the enemy buildings.
It's an engage if you already know you have an escape, or it is a finishing move, or it is a finishing move, like you said. And right now, he's using it to try and move on to this point, using his own ninja agility there to try and escape an ETC on point. And that was a disastrous raid by Belgium.
I don't even understand why they made that invade. The only possible explanation I have is that they didn't have anyone at their own mercenary camp, because for some weird reason Enabler on the Sonny was top instead of bottom, where he should have been, or potentially. So they tried to invade and they tried to steal the mercenary camp for their opponents, but there were 4 Danish guys defending already. They had an easy time to really do it, and especially Gul'dan, AoE, when the team is going in uncoordinatedly, then he's going to get tons of value.
Indeed. So, yeah, like you said, with Sonya not getting mercenaries, Belgium are just missing value everywhere. They are going to get
Tyrael, nice Eldrin's might there.
Tyrael. So now they're losing, they are just losing value everywhere. They're losing value in the top lane. That tribute took a little bit longer, so there's going to be no reaction to that, no kind of counter push or anything. They're still not getting mercenaries. Looks like that fort might survive if those mercenaries can be cleared up quickly.
All right, Heiza and Taluf, they're trying to intercept someone. And this game basically follows the example of the previous one. I'm not sure what it is with Team Belgium, but the early game doesn't seem to be their strength. Maybe they're still crunching on some waffles and they're trying to get, ready later. I don't know what it is, but they seem to look very shaky and for some reason always manage to come back in later when it really matters.
It seems to be early game is not their strong suit in this particular tournament. As we do see level 7, though, like you said, they're not available for Belgium yet, but Denmark, they've actually had it for a while already. They're halfway into the level. We do see Cleanse on Brightwing again, which is going to be nice against that Muradin and Uther crowd control, and even Malfurion and Sonya.
Not sure why they backed off. I think they could have maybe tried to go for a gank of Brightwing, but if that gank hadn't been successful, then they would have been way too late for that tribute in the bottom lane, which is going to arrive right now. And Sonya could potentially interrupt a Brightwing teleport if the spear lands. So Brightwing needs to be very cautious, very careful on the location she chooses to make that move.
Rabio takes a little bit of damage, but it's tanking through. Needs to move to his team. Good protection on the Genji, who is able to dive away. But with Brightwing arriving for the rest of Denmark, they have the man advantage. They're trying to make that, get some value out of that now. Dreamy left unattended. He has drained the Genji, though, keeping himself alive and continues to drop insane amounts of damage to Loof.
Tyrael goes down.
He's forced to escape, but Tyrael, like you said, the first to fall.
Yeah, Tyrael goes down, didn't even hit anyone with his trade. Genji using another Swift Strike, using the dash here as well to interrupt it even more. And now Team Belgium, they can fight with a numbers advantage.
The root is good. Maldon killed off by the Rogue Shuriken. And with 3 kills going over to Belgium, they are going to claim that tribute.
That was very spectacular by Team Belgium. I really feel that they planned this from start to finish. They were rotating very nicely.
Yep.
As we said, if they had committed too much in the top lane to gank on that bribing, they would have probably been too late. So they gave it up. They prioritized the objective over a kill. And Tetris, sometimes you gotta realize Heroes of the Storm is not all about kills.
Exactly, and in this case, it was a situation of we can either go to top lane to find Brightwing and potentially get the kill but lose the objective, or we can go to bot lane and Brightwing will probably come there anyway. It will be a 5v5, but in this case, it worked out very well in their favor.
Absolutely true, but I also like what the Danish team is doing here. They're going for a boss immediately, and this boss in the bottom lane is now going to probably distract their opponents. And if they let it go, well, they're probably not gonna. They're gonna take a lot of free damage in the bottom lane. But if they don't pay attention to it at all, the tribute is going to spell disaster for them because it could be a curse point.
Yeah, this could be a curse. And the fact is Belgium getting that tribute earlier on, even with the Tyrael denial, was a really big deal for them. They can even afford to give this up, but they
just need to buy time right now.
Yeah, they are actually going to give this up, which is kind of sad because they're not getting value in the bot lane. They're actually losing value now because they gave it up. If they committed to the bot lane to defend, this would have been fine. But because they all committed to top lane, because they didn't have level 10 yet, they now lose the tribute and bot 4.
Exactly. So a little bit of a setback here for the Belgium team, but it's merely a setback. They still
have 10.
Exactly. They still have level 10. They've
one
got
game
2.
late. The Haymaker has arrived. Oh, 2 games late. Sorry, can't count.
Okay, so what does it mean?
It means that Gul'dan is going to potentially be in trouble. It's going to be very much up to Brightwing with that cleanse to keep Gul'dan safe. Karazim, not so much of an issue if he gets it. He has that 7-sided strike. He can keep himself safe until he has time to dash away. Brightwing herself does need to be a little bit more cautious, but she has the Emerald Wind counter. But yeah, what it means is there is now a lot of dive potential coming in from Muradin, or disengage potential.
And you know what? For this particular playstyle with the Haymaker coming in, a leap would have actually been a nice choice as well, but Wrath of the Berserker is such a formidable heroic ability, especially when there's so much CC available from the enemy team.
There is a lot of crowd control coming in here, although a lot of it is silences. It's really only ETC who is going to be dealt with that Wrath of the Berserker, but the extra damage is always nice. And yeah, we do see Belgium here getting a boss, but they lose another tribute. They need to get some value out of this boss, or they're going to be in trouble, because right now, both teams on 2 tributes.
If Denmark hadn't been there, Belgium could have actually gone for a sweet play and, you know, take the boss a little bit later deliberately, just leave the platform open. But since there already were Youngback and his boys threatening to steal it away, they had to commit it. If they had waited a little bit longer, then they could have forced it and delayed it for the next tribute to spawn. But as it is, they're still going to get decent value in the top lane. They're still going to tear down that fort. The Haymaker, though, just, you know, a little bit of a
threat.
And show him who's boss.
The threat of it being hit, the threat of that Haymaker being around is always scary, and this is why we're seeing Denmark play so far back. Meantime, though, Denmark have been hovering around with Brightwing in the bot lane, so they have been soaking XP. Neither team's going to have 13 for this objective, and like you said, with Haymaker back to Loof. Looking to try and zone out as Rabio. There's the mosh pit. Good Divine Shield. Haymaker immediately onto Tyrael to prevent the sanctification. The Twilight Dream is good. Where's the smack? It's far too late. Dragon Blade shredding through the members. Horrified as the one chance for them to disengage. Dream in full retreat. Highs against it. Well, where's blue team gone? Back to the Hall of the Storms, Kendrick.
Okay, this is going to be a team fight that Bakery is most likely going to, you know, guide us through again in the replay section, because there were so many cool things that happened. The Haymaker knocking back the Tyrael so he couldn't drop the Sanctification, and while, you know, Tyrael was trying to run back as fast as he could, there was already a Twilight Dream, and nobody was able to do anything. The Belgian team looked so clean here.
And the Divine Shield on the
that was so good
to
too.
allow him to do that because he was in that mosh pit and the 7-sided strike alone, keeping him alive, and of course the Dragon Blade catching anyone who wasn't in the stank. Beautiful execution all around here by Belgium. I can't wait to see Bakery talk us through it if this is a replay he picks.
Yeah, that was a bittersweet symphony. Sweet for the Belgium team and very bitter for the Danish team, who are now with their backs against the wall, 2 levels behind. It is all or nothing in this series. If they lose to Belgium, their chances of advancing are close to 0.
Pretty much, unless Belgium starts losing in their other games as well. It becomes very difficult for any of these teams. As we do see the nice aggressive push in the bot lane. Like we said, they've already taken down the fort. They are looking for more. Meridian wipes out the minion wave with that slam.
Yeah, it definitely feels good to just punch a couple of cursed minions who can't even defend themselves.
Yeah, the thunderclap is always fun.
All right, and the thing is, though, Denmark still has a couple of aces up their sleeves. They still have the 16 that they need to work for. They still have the Holy Ground. And if a fight goes in their favor, when they can land the Horrify first, before the Divine Shield goes through, before the Twilight Dream gets used, then it is all theirs to take. Like, they can still swing those team fights around. It's just all about timing and knowing when to pull the trigger and when to be a little bit more patient.
And patience has been a virtue for Belgium in the previous series, but
sure.
Denmark, they've just showed a lot of aggression, at least in the last games.
Yeah.
So patience, they are showing patience a little bit now, as Toulouse does keep the boss aggro. Needs to be careful. No Holy Ground yet, so he does have an escape route and does have to use it.
There we go. The roots, though, to keep the pressure low. There we go. I think Denmark wants to enforce this, though. They realize if we don't take this boss now, we're going to have to give it up against Belgium with level 16.
They have back, 7-sided, good damage. Toulouse leaps away. Rabio was not able to divine shield him as he was horrified, but the boss gets leashed and no one died. That's probably the end of any attempt at this by Denmark.
And that was the one move they had. Isolate the Muradin, root him, fear the other guys, and then drop a 7-sider on top of it. But even all that was not enough. He didn't have Avatar.
They burnt 2 heroics and Belgium burnt nothing.
Exactly.
They are still all alive and they still have all their heroics. This boss, there is no way it's going over to Denmark.
And now 16 is around the corner. There's only one weapon that could potentially work in favor of Denmark, and that would be a Sanctification. But against a team that's 2 levels ahead of yours, I don't think they can even go for a contest here. I'm not sure if they can do it, to be honest, Tetcher. I think this is very risky.
They have 16, they have their heroics. What can you do? This has to be a mosh pit. 7-sided back. Zaska, the only one that's not here is Horrify, and that's kind of the most important one. Good damage from Gul'dan. Enabler is very committed to this. Toulouse trying to load. He knocks back Brightwing. The Emerald Wind would have been the best opportunity to steal here. Here comes Sanctification, and Radio holding on the point. 7-sided strike. Everyone found on moving in. Emerald Wind! Come off! They've done it, Kendrick! And DK take that boss.
I take every single word back that I just uttered, because the Danish boys are back in town. They just played this so well. The Sanctification was the foundation. Then there was a beautiful 4 to 5 man mosh pit, followed by the Emerald Wind, and Belgium, they got baited.
Oh, they did so much. It was a brave move to try and take that boss, just trying to throw around their weight and their talent.
The icing on the cake, the curse.
The curse, the boss, they're potentially going for end here. They don't have mosh pit, they don't have Sank, but there is the chance. The key will go down. The Horrify is ready. It's come off cooldown. Here comes the entirety of Team Belgium, though. The boss, completely healthy. Last-ditch defense by Belgium.
Toulouse leading the charge, knocking ETC to the side. A big violence coming in. Denmark is on the retreat. They need to evacuate right now. But on the flip side, Belgium, don't forget about the boss. Don't change. Brightwing actually did them a favor here by denying them the chase. And Belgium stays in the game for now. But boy, oh boy, what a retaliation strike by the Danes.
What a beautiful retaliation by the Danish team. The boss goes down, but 18% off the core is nothing to sniff at, and they are in a very solid position now. Denmark holding their lives in this tournament.
Yeah, the flood is coming in through the bottom, through the middle. The curse did its own shady work, and Belgium, they don't need to keep all the doors shut. They need to minimize the damage they just took from that devastating boss fight.
Yes, they do, as Belgium clearing out the minion waves. Bot lane will have to be cleared again. But guess what? DK, now they have holy ground.
Oh boy, if you thought last team fight was good for Denmark, just wait until you see Dizzy Dwarf for the holy ground. Exactly, everything's ready.
They're moving in, they're wrapping around, they've abandoned
12 seconds.
They've abandoned the catapult. Seven Side is striking spot, Moshpit gets free again! And Genji is doing everything he can, the Emerald win is getting to Loof is focused and goes down. Heiser has done some decent damage, but they're horrified, that's it! That fight is over as Rabio getting chased down. The Horrify is too much as he's taken out by the corruption, and Denmark are gonna go for the core.
They're gonna go for the core. They just got themselves an opening a few moments earlier. They know the bottom lane is naked for Team Belgium. They're only going to destroy this tiny piece of wall. There we go, so they can go for a shortcut. Every second matters. Every moment matters. There's only lane field available. I think that's going to be a tetcher.
Malf has Twilight Dream, but is that really enough? He's trying to move in, the last-ditch effort, but it's not enough, and that is GG. And Denmark bring the series to a 1-1.
Oh boy, this could very well be the play day of ties thus far. One close and clutch series after the other. Denmark, they finally stabilized, and it came at the right moment.
Wow.
Wow, indeed.
Wow. Belgium was so far ahead.
Incredible.
I was so sure Belgium would win that. And then the boss fight was absolutely insane from Denmark. And I do have that as a replay for you guys.
Can't wait for it.
But my first replay is actually a very early game team fight that I thought was super cool. So, get into that right now.
Wait for it.
So what we're going to see is that first off, like, they have to interrupt the tribute. So they move in. Now, look at Dreamer. He's getting so low on this cooldown, but he's still confident. He's staying in. He's draining. Now, they have to reset. Belgium have to reset, so they won't get out. Toulouse in trouble. He managed to get a jump out. Now, Denmark are looking in a great position. So they chase him, but Sonya has arrived now. Karazim goes in. He's trying to force the Mjolnir out. Enable on Sonya misses the spear. Heiser's pressing Gul'dan again in the backline, but Gul'dan is still alive. Now here's where Dizzy Dwarf on the Tyro, he gets a bit over optimistic. He tries to go in. He tries to finish Toulouse on the Mjolnir, but he actually gets stunned. He can't do it, and he's going to go down first. The slide only hits Uther, who's on full HP. He is not a target for them currently. Sonya only just escapes. Down here, we've got Lenfield only just escaping, and Heiser, who's been behind this entire time, is still here. But Denmark, look at their health. They are confident. They want this 4v5. All of Belgium is solo. Heiser on the Genji makes the play easy and only just survives, gets the interrupt, and now it's all over for Denmark. They lose 2 more. And this is where Belgium initially get control of the game and snowball it to that 16 versus 14.
Yeah, and I'm gonna have to give a special shout out to Dreamy on that Gul'dan. You highlighted it perfectly, Bakery. Gul'dan not only seems to be a counter to the Uther, but also he seems to be really good against Genji if he maintains a calm and really just relaxed demeanor. Like if he stands still, uses the drain life, excuse me, and then the fear on top of it is just so devastating.
Yeah, he stayed calm, he stayed collected.
There we go.
Some of those Horrifies was such a big deal here.
Definitely
now,
true.
my second replay is the fight that you guys asked for. I wasn't going to include it initially, but you guys insisted, so we'll get into it. Now, this looks like a fantastic pick for Denmark. They remain undeterred. But Divine Shield comes out from Rabio. And now here's where it all goes wrong. Mosh gets interrupted. Haymaker the Tyrael out. And that's their save. That's Sanctification. So instantly, Emerald Wind interrupted. ETC falls, but there is not coordination on this Denmark team. They run out of the Sanctification. 2 more go down. Again, Dreamy, he's staying alive, but the fear is good, but it's too little too late. And this is all 5 members of Denmark getting cleaned up.
Thank you for showing us that. I didn't even see the Emerald Wing get interrupted. That Twilight Dream was
the Twilight Dream was value, but the big thing was that Haymaker. It split the entire team. It knocked them all apart, but it hit the Sanctification out. And then Denmark, if they were more coordinated and they stayed in that Sanctification, they can win that fight.
Yeah, absolutely true. And oftentimes you have your fixed rotations of, okay, Sanctification first, guys, then we're going to do this and that. And if one of those pieces gets put away of the puzzle, everything's going to crumble.
They were lost.
Yeah.
But luckily for everyone who's viewing and us, I have a third replay.
I want to see that one again.
So let's get into it. We see the boss fight. It starts off. It's 14 versus 16. This looks like an impossible situation for Denmark, but they start it. So the boss is getting low. It's getting low. Youngback, he's on the ETC. He knows he has to be in here. The sword from Tyrio is down. The Haymaker is not good enough. It only hits Brightwing. Now, Sanctification goes down first. Youngback. He holds the Moss so long. He waits until the Sanctification ends, and then he gets a 5-man Moss. A literal 5-man. Brightwing turns up, hits the Emerald Wind, but it didn't really matter. They were all dead by the time the Emerald Wind connected. Huge play from the front line here from Team Denmark.
Sometimes in Heroes of the Storm, you make a good play. Sometimes you make a god play. And like you said, that ETC Mosh was spectacular. And that was basically the only thing that turned around the game at that point. Because like you said, that looked impossible.
And it's so cool to have this big play on the team's leader, on Youngback, who in this interview that we had before the Nexus game started said he was so motivated going into this. He really wanted to prove all the people wrong who said he couldn't make it as a player. He couldn't shine on the stage. And that's exactly what he did. So well played. But guys, we have more in store. The final game is going to go down soon after a short break. So you'd be a fool if you left us now.